Alright guys, I have seen this question pop up a handful of times, and while I don't want to take total credit for this idea, because I'm pretty sure I saw it somewhere, and I wish I could give that person credit, I'm just going to break down how to put a flat pack on a Spiritus System 119 Overt. Alright, so you can see it's just got the 2 rows of molle-ish stuff, because it was designed to use their back panels. But we'll make that thing go on here, and we'll make it fairly stable because people seem to want to do that. All right, so stay tuned. All right, so the heart of the way that we're going to do this is we are going to run the malice or molle strap of the flat pack just like you would typically thread molle, and we're going to start with the pack all the way up so that this row of webbing is going to sit right here, and we're going to use the inside columns there. All right, not the middle two, but the middle two, or the the next two out columns of molle. And then once we go through there, we're going to run the molle strip just down the length of the backpack, going under the molle on the backpack until we hit this row, in which case we will again use the second and fifth columns, and we'll see how that lines up. It should line up right about here on the flat pack, and then we'll finish weaving the molle all the way down. And once that's done, we'll throw a little shot cord in the mix and tighten this up. But I'm going to go ahead and get this mollied on so that you guys can see how that looks. Alright, so just to show you guys how we're going to finish off these tuck tabs here, I suspect, I haven't done it before, but I suspect if we were mounting the flat pack to a full molle field, the last row on the host would be right in line with this one, so we would go through our host molle in line with this, and then we would come back up and tuck it into the flat pack. However, I think the cleanest way to do this, because we're not doing that, is run the webbing all the way down the bottom and then bring it back on itself and tuck it into that second from the last row there. All right, so that's what I'm going to do, and then we'll look at how to get the shot cord on here. All right, so just so you guys can see how this sits without any added thought process to this at all, just using the 2 rows of molle that are there. The flat pack probably would not work itself loose. However, the bottom is free to move around. So we've got a couple of different options here. We can use these compression strap D-rings to anchor our shot cord, which might be a good idea, or we can anchor it on some of the molle webbing, perhaps even around the tuck tie, or the tuck strap there. All right, but what we're going to anchor that to is, if you haven't opened up your 119 before, they have the laser cut dots in here that you can run your shot cord through. So I don't think I'm going to reinvent the wheel. I think I'm just going to tie off around the cummerbund shot cord that's already in there. So I'll play around with that real quick, and then I'll get right back to you on how that works out. Okay, so hopefully this shows up well enough for you guys. But I had this fairly long piece of shot cord here, which I think made it easier to work with. All right, but you won't have to use the whole thing. We'll fish out all the excess before we tie our knot, and then you'll have a good chunk left over. So I think this was about 4 feet long, maybe 3 feet long. But I started on this side. I dropped it. I had it run out of the D-ring and then back in. So both ends are starting on the outside of the D-ring, going into the vest. All right, and then depending on how well this shows up for you, looking into the laser cut holes there, I used the second from the bottom, and I believe I'm at the second from the top up there. And I just used the middle 2 eyelets there, and then I ran them out the other side of the vest. And then instead of running each end out through the D-ring and then tying the knot out here, we're going to clean it up just a little bit. I ran it out one of the D-rings and then back in through the other D-ring, and then we're going to tie our knot, and then we'll just shuffle that in inside the vest so that our knot ends up right on one of those eyelets. So I'll clean that up real quick and I'll get right back to you. Alright, so to show you the finished product here, the way those compression straps sit, or the D-rings for them sit, is once you pull the slack out, they kind of wrap around the cummerbund pass through there, and the spacing is about perfect unless you really start pulling it tight. If you have it just secure, it actually sits very well and it doesn't pull up on this flap at all. And then what I ended up doing is this bottom row here, where it came into the vest, I had it come back out the eyelet, and then same thing from the other side, come back out the eyelet instead of the same running end going through both holes. And then we put our knot on the plate bag side there, and then if I was doing this for keeps, I would take even more slack out, get the knot right up to those holes, and then trim off the excess. However, I don't plan on leaving it set up like this, so that's why it isn't, that finishing touch isn't there. But I think, all things considered, if you want a flat pack on a 119 Overt, this is a fairly secure way of doing it. Again, I didn't come up with this idea as far as I know. I'm pretty sure somebody had already shared it on one of the Facebook pages, but now it's in video form and hopefully a little bit easier for you guys to understand and replicate if that is something that you would like to do. All right, thanks guys, appreciate your time.